Hello everyone, this is Kid here, and I'm back with part 3, and should be the last part of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, 1961. I'll leave a link to this document down in the description below, along with our email. You can email us at themuns@gmail.com for a private consultation. And yeah, without further ado, let me get right into it. Article 38. Except so far as additional privileges and immunities may be granted by the receiving state, a diplomatic agent who is a national or permanently resident in that state shall enjoy only immunity from jurisdiction, inviolability in respect to official acts performed in the exercise of his functions. Wait a minute, I read that already. Oh, that's where I was. Article 39. I was at this part here. In case of the death of a member of the mission, the members of his family shall continue to enjoy the privileges and immunities to which they are entitled until the expiry of a reasonable period in which to leave the country. In the event of the death of a member of the mission, not a national or permanently resident in the receiving state, or a member of his family forming part of his household, the receiving state shall permit the withdrawal of the movable property of the deceased, with the exception of any property acquired in the country with the export of which was prohibited at the time of his death. Estate succession and inheritance duties shall not be levied on movable property in the presence of which in the receiving state was due solely to the presence there of the deceased as a member of the mission or as a member of the family of a member of the mission. Article 40. If a diplomatic agent passes through or is in the territory of a third state, which has granted him a passport visa, if such visa was necessary, while proceeding to take up or to return to his post, or when returning to his own country, the third state shall accord him inviolability and such other immunities as may be required to ensure his transit or return. The same shall apply in the case of any members of his family enjoying privileges or immunities who are accompanying the diplomatic agent, or traveling separately to join him or to return to their country. In circumstances similar to those specified in paragraph 1 of this article, third state shall not hinder the passage of members of the administrative and technical or service staff on a mission, and of members of their families through their territories. Third state shall accord to official correspondence and other official communications in transit, including messages in code or cipher, the same freedom and protection as is accorded by the receiving state. They shall accord to diplomatic couriers who have been granted a passport visa if such visa was necessary, and diplomatic bags in transit, the same inviolability and protection as the receiving state is bound to accord. The obligations of third states under paragraphs 1, 2, and 3 of this article shall also apply to the persons mentioned respectively in those paragraphs, and to official communications and diplomatic bags whose presence in the territory of the third state is due to force majeure. Article 41. Without prejudice to their privileges and immunities, it is the duty of all persons enjoying such privileges and immunities to respect the laws and regulations of the receiving state. They also have a duty not to interfere with the internal affairs of that state. All official businesses within the receiving state entrusted to the mission by the sending state shall be conducted with or through the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of the receiving state, or such other ministry as may be agreed. The premises of the mission must not be used in any manner incompatible with the functions of the mission as laid down in the present convention, or by other rules of general and international law, or by any special agreements in force between the sending and the receiving state. Article 42. A diplomatic agent shall not in the receiving state practice for personal profit any professional or commercial activity. Article 43. The function of a diplomatic agent comes to an end On notification by the sending state to the receiving state that the function of the diplomatic agent has come to an end. On notification by the receiving state to the sending state that, in accordance with the paragraph 2 of Article 9, it refuses to recognize the diplomatic agent as a member of the mission. Article 44. The receiving state must, even in case of armed conflict, grant facilities in order to enable persons enjoying privileges and immunities other than nationals of the receiving state, and members of the families of such persons, irrespective of their nationality, to leave at the earliest possible moment. It must, in particular, in case of need, place at their disposal the necessary means of transport for themselves and their property. Article 45. If diplomatic relations are broken off between two states, or if a mission is permanently or temporarily recalled, the receiving state must, even in case of armed conflict, respect and protect the premises of the mission, together with its property and archives. The sending state may entrust the custody of the premises of the mission, together with its property and archives to a third state acceptable to the receiving state. The sending state may entrust the protection of its interests and those of its nationals to a third state acceptable to the receiving state. Article 46. A sending state may, with prior consent of a receiving state and at the request of a third state not represented in the receiving state, undertake the temporary protection of the interests of the third state and of its nationals. Article 47. In the application of the provisions of the Great Present Convention, the receiving state shall not discriminate as between states. However, discrimination shall not be regarded as taking place where the receiving state applies any of the provisions of the present convention restrictively because of a restrictive application of that provision to its mission in the sending state, whereby custom or agreement states extend to each other more favorable a treatment than is required by the provisions of the present convention. Article 48. The present convention shall be opened for signature by all states members of the United Nations or of any of the specialized agencies parties to the statute of the International Court of Justice, and by any other state invited by the General Assembly of the United States to become a party to the convention. Article 48. The present convention shall be open for signature by all states members of the United Nations or of any of the specialized agencies parties to the statute of the International Court of Justice, and by any other state invited by the General Assembly of the United Nations to become a party to the convention, as follows. Until 31st of October 1961 at the Federal Ministry for Foreign Affairs for Austria, and subsequently until March 31st, 1962 at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Article 49. The present convention is subject to ratification. The instruments of ratification shall be deposited with the Secretary General of the United Nations. Article 50. The present convention shall remain open for accession by any state belonging to any of the four categories mentioned in Article 48. The instruments of accession must be deposited with the Secretary General of the United Nations. Article 51. The present convention shall enter into force on the 13th day following the state of deposit of the 22nd instrument of ratification or accession with the Secretary General of the United Nations. For each state ratifying or ascending to the convention after the deposit of the 22nd instrument of ratification or accession, the convention shall enter into force on the 13th day after deposit by such state of his instrument of ratification or accession. Article 52. The Secretary General of the United Nations shall inform all states belonging to any of the four categories mentioned in Article 48 of signatures to the present convention and of the deposit of instruments or ratification or accession in accordance with Articles 48, 49, and 50. On the date on which the present convention will enter into force in accordance with Article 51. Article 53, and this is the last one. The original of the present convention, of which the Chinese, English, French, Russian, and Spanish texts are equally authentic, shall be deposited with the Secretary General of the United Nations, who shall send certified copies thereof to all states belonging to any of the four categories mentioned in Article 48. In witness thereof, the undersigned plenipotentiaries, being duly authorized thereof by their respective governments, have signed the present convention. Done at Vienna this 18th day of April, 1961. Yeah, 1961. And that's it, guys. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video. Bye.